This is the Christian Black Codes of 1724, also known as NOR, which is from 1628. Um, these are these are a compilation of codes to keep the slaves known as blacks in line. So we got to understand where they're coming from and why these things are imperative that we understand what's going on. Article 2. Make it imperative on masters to impart religious instruction to their slaves. So what are they saying right there? That they're going to teach what they want to teach and keep what they want us in their head, in our head. So Article 3 permits the exercise of the Roman Catholic's creed only. Every other mode of worship is prohibited. So what they're doing right there is telling you if you try to use any other mode besides Christian, which is actually Roman Catholic and things like that, we got to understand that they're using that as a tool to bring you down, and that's what you would have to read. So that's the only thing you would have to study. So you have to understand that uh, the church is very powerful in what they're preaching. And I'm not saying that people don't that there's not good things out of the church, because that made me who I am. Even though I don't go to church now and things like that, that made me who I am. So I don't knock it. I just know what it is. So that's what I'm bringing out tonight. It's not, or today. It's not about whether I think it's bad what they are doing, and if preachers are not preaching this kind of stuff, that's I'm condoning that too. But Negroes placed, this is Article 4, Negroes placed under the direction or supervision of any other person other than a Catholic are liable to be confiscated. So when we talk about who owns who owns slaves and things like that, we got to understand that it's the Catholic Christian Church. I'm not saying that the people that are listening that go to church, I'm not saying that's you, but you got to understand where this stuff is coming from, and I want and know where you're going to, and that's my whole point. It's not about bashing them, but at least know where you're going and who, what, and what you got in front of you. So Article 5, or holidays are to be strictly observed. All Negroes found at work on these days are to be confiscated. Confiscation and things like that. We have to understand that this is not, and we have to, you think just go into church, we have to look into that and pay attention to what's going on. And so I'm going to read one more because you can look this up online and pull this up anytime, so but I wanted to read some of these so people will get it and understand what's going on. Article 13, we forbid slaves belonging to different masters to gather in crowds either by day or night. Now that's called a contraband meeting, and you can look that up in dictionary or online. It is called a contraband meeting, and so they don't want you gathering around unless you're owned by that. And so um, in case of frequent offenses of the kind, the offender shall be branded with the mark of the flower de lis. Now the flower de lis breaks down to the flower de luxe, which is a symbol of the New Orleans Saints. And I guarantee, just like in my house, there's at least 30 things that have the flower de lis on it, and people can look that up, or flower deluxe or flower de lis, and look that up, because that's very important, because that's what the French used to brand us. And so if you kept doing bad things, they would put this mark on you. And so you got to understand what the flower de lis is all about and pay attention to it. And so when I bring these things up, it's very powerful that you understand that the flower de lis is what they use to mark us, as well as special words and flogging, raping, all these things. So we got to understand what's going on. So get back to my presentation. right, now here is a picture of my fourth great grandfather on my grandpa's side, on my mom's side. And so, what's important about here, what I wanted to put here is I wanted to talk about this rapist, this manseer, this clown, this wanderer that came over here and raped my fourth great grandmother, Hannah Jackson. So what I'm doing here is talking about uh, real Black history through him. You know, he's done a lot of other things that people might know, because Andrew Jackson did a lot of things, Trail of Tears, uh, fought with the Indians and stuff. So, but he kept it. She was known what people would know as an Indian. So when we talk about, he kind of, so you could tell that he's really racist because he kept her and used these coercive tactics, just these vulturous rapist tactics to keep her around, even though she knew she was free. And we have to pay attention to that, because they'll use special words and things of this nature to uh, to to keep you around and keep you in this black thing, and just like a elephant in a cage. If you let him out, if you let the cage open, he won't know he's free because he's been sitting in that cage for so long. So we have to take these blinders off and know that these things are happening for a reason. He he did some really evil things and made her, fooled her into having sex with him, and but like really raping her, but taking her mind first. So he's like a pimp, and so we have to pay attention. So when I'm talking about him, it's like, why are you bringing this out? Why are you putting him into a Black History side? Because this is Black history. Because this has to do with the culture vulturing of what they did to our people, and dumbed her down and then made her thinking that she was a nobody. Okay, that's very powerful. So my last slide. Let's give them back their names and month. We have the other 11 months to uplift our people. Let them know about themselves this month. What I'm saying there is, you know, now that you know that they're not the real Black people, and they're not this and they're not that, and you know how to do this, and I can send this presentation to anybody so you get further clarification yourself, or know where to look this stuff up, because that's very important. So we got to understand, we have the other 11 months. We got to give this back to them, and let them know about themselves this month, and uplift our people the other 11 months. But this is their shit, and give it back to them. Now, my quote, revolution is a revelation of education. What I'm saying there is, you can't have a revolution if you don't know about education, because that's where it comes from. Because revolution has to do with education, and so if you don't have the revelation of it, you can't have an education or a revolution. They're one and the same. So we got to understand that. That's very important. So thank you for listening.